The next quests that were released actually seem to have much more planning than the previous ones. They introduced some of RuneScape's various races, the Majorat, the Tree Gnomes, the Sea Slugs, and the Elves. Almost all of these next quests have sequels, or are at least tied in some way to future quests. Quest number 31, Tree Gnome Village. This quest introduces a new race to RuneScape, Tree Gnomes. West of the Ardoyan Monastery is a battlefield between humans and gnomes, near a massive hedge maze. If we navigate the maze, we find a small village of trees and gnomes. We speak to the king, Bolrin, who explains that they are fighting a war and are losing. He tells us that their village has been protected by a spirit tree that is enhanced by 3 magical orbs. They used one of the orbs on the front lines in an attempt to turn the tide, but the orb was stolen by the enemy. Because of this, they are defenseless to a direct assault. We offer to get the orb back, and he sends us to Commander Montai. We speak to Montai, and he asks us to provide lumber to replace their battlements. We do, and he says they are working to get the orb back using a ballista to break down the enemy stronghold walls. He's missing the coordinates, and there are 3 gnomes that were sent behind enemy lines to get them, but they haven't returned. We go search for them, and the Khazard troops do not regard us as an enemy, so they don't attack us. We find the first tracker hiding behind the stronghold. He provides us with a coordinate. We find the second one, who was imprisoned and tortured for information, but says he didn't crack, and he gives us the second coordinate. The third gnome has lost his mind and only speaks in riddles and nonsense. We return to the ballista and guess the third coordinate. The stronghold wall collapses as we shoot it. We go into the stronghold, kill 2 guards, and retrieve the orb.
What? How did you manage to get in here?
I've come for the orb.
I'll never let you take it.
This will be an intense battle. My spear I've been training with since I was a child has grown to be an extension of my arm. Nothing will prevent my victory here today,
And I will be awarded the highest honor by General Khazard himself.
We return it to King Bolrin, who says their worst fear has happened. They were invaded by Khazard fighters, and their orbs were stolen. The queen was slain along with any other gnome who tried to stop them. We tell him we will get the orbs back. We travel past the battlefield to the northwest and find a Khazard warlord. We demand the orbs back, and he attacks us. We kill him, and he dies in a puff of smoke. We return the orbs. Quest complete. Quest number 32, Fight Arena. West of the Tree Gnome village, we find Lady Surreal, crying next to a broken cart. We offer to help her, and she explains that her husband and son were kidnapped by Khazard soldiers because they refused to give up their lands to General Khazard. I borrow a suit of armor from a nearby armory, and I'm allowed into the prison. I speak with Sammy Surreal. He tells us the lazy guard keeps the keys to his cell. We speak with him, and he says he really likes a specific alcohol, Cali Brew. We buy a bottle for him from the nearby bar, and he drinks it. He gives us the keys. We free Sammy, and he leads us to the arena where his father was taken. He's about to be killed by an ogre. We kill the ogre, and General Khazard allows the Surreal's freedom.
Well done, well done. That was rather entertaining. I am the great General Khazard, and the 2 men you just saved are my property.
They belong to nobody.
Well, I suppose we could make some arrangement for their freedom. I'll let them go, but you must stay and fight for me. You'll make me double the gold if you manage to last a few fights. Guards, take to the cells.
Soon after, we're brought to the arena and have to fight.
today's first fight commence. The outsider RS3 Released and everyone's favorite scorpion, Billy Rodgers! Don't believe it! 2 hits and Billy Rodgers is down! Ladies and gentlemen, let today's second round of battle commence. The outsider, RS3 Released, and Bouncer!
No! Bouncer! How dare you? For his sake, you'll suffer, traveler. Prepare to meet your maker.
You agreed to let the servals go if I stayed to fight.
Indeed, you shall see that I am not cowardly enough to make false promises. They may go. You, however, have caused me much trouble today. You will remain here so that I may have the pleasure of killing you myself.
This fight is optional, so I choose to leave. I speak to Lady Serval, who rewards me with 1,000 gold. Quest complete. Quest number 33, Hazil Cult. Surreal Carnelian tells us that cultists have been breaking into his house. He explains that they stole his family heirloom armor. His old butler followed the cultists to their hideout and was murdered in his sleep the day after, immediately replaced with a new butler. We turn some sewer valves and head into the hideout cave, where we find a cultist named Clavette. He tells us that the Carnelians are benefiting from the true nobility of our doyen, Hazil. He explains Hazil is a powerful Majorat who was slain by the Carnelians' ancestor, and they are preparing to resurrect him. This is the second mention of Majorat, the first being Lucien, mentioned by the Guardians of Armadil. Clavette offers us a deal in helping them to resurrect Hazil. We decline and follow him to their hideout. We find the cultist leader, who unwittingly tells us that the new butler is actually their agent. We kill the leader and loot the armor. We return the armor to Surreal and accuse the butler. Surreal sides with the butler, and we're only partially rewarded. Quest kind of complete. We then go upstairs, find incriminating evidence in the butler's dresser. The butler is arrested and we are rewarded for real. Quest complete. Quest number 34, Sheepherder. Counselor Halgrave tells us that West Ardoyan has been suffering a plague, and recently, sheep north of the city have been found to be infected with the plague, resulting in them being turned bizarre colors. He hires us to humanely kill the sheep and incinerate their remains to prevent infection. We buy a protective suit from the nearby doctor and get to work. I grab a cattle prod and start prodding the sheep, leading them to an enclosure. Once all four are inside, I poison them with food. I then burn the remains and return to the counselor for my reward. Quest complete. Quest number 35, Plague City. Interested to learn more about the plague after the previous quest, I talk to a local of Ardoyan who lives near the wall that's quarantining the citizens of the West. Edmund tells us that his daughter Elena is working as a plague healer, but was supposed to return days ago. I offer to go look for her. He tells me that people cannot travel between the walls unless they are mourners. He says there may be a way through down in the sewers. He has his wife make me a gas mask using 12 berries, and we dig under his garden into the sewers. We pull a grate off a pipe, and I now have access to West Ardoyan. I go back and grab a picture of Elena. I speak to a local of the West, Jethic, and show him a picture of Elena. He tells me he was staying with a family in Ardoyan, the Rihinsons, and gives us a book to return to them. I go to their house and return the book. They tell me that their daughter, Millie, witnessed Elena get kidnapped while trying to return to East Ardoyan and thrown into a building. I go to the building that Millie described, but the mourners outside will not let me in. I go to the office of the city warder and speak to the clerk, who tells me to speak with Brevek. Brevek refuses to speak with me as he has a hangover. I provide him with a hangover cure, which is chocolate milk with some snape grass. He feels much better and provides me with a warrant to get inside the building. I go to the building, and while the mourners deliberate what to do about the warrant, I get inside and find a key and find Elena locked inside a cell basement. I let her out, and she tells me she was trying to synthesize a cure for the plague and will continue to do so now that she is free. She escapes, and I return to her father, and am awarded with the ability to use the Ardoyan teleport spell. Quest complete. Quest number 36, Sea Slug. In the village east of Ardoyan, we speak to Caroline. She tells us her husband and son, along with the other fishermen of Witch Haven, have gone to the fishing platform and haven't returned or sent word in over a week. We offer to find out what happened. We speak with a nearby boatman named Holgart and help him repair his boat. He rows us out to the platform and we find it infested with slugs. We find Caroline's son Kenneth hiding in the platform, and he tells us his father left to get help days ago. We boat to a nearby island and find Kenneth stranded. He tells us the sea slugs were netted in with their caught fish, and since they were caught, all the fishermen started being mind-controlled. He begs us to help his son escape. We return to the platform and devise a way to get Kenneth off the platform. We create a hole in the wall for him to crawl through and use a nearby crane to lower him down. He escapes with Holgar, and we return to Caroline. Quest complete. Quest number 37, Waterfall Quest. We travel up a road to a house near a waterfall. We speak with Almera, who says her son is out treasure hunting, but she is very worried about him and asks us to check on him. We board a raft and crash on a small patch of land in the water. We speak to the boy, who says he is treasure hunting and won't tell us anything more. We casually swim down the waterfall and arrive downstream. I go inside a nearby home and find a book on Baxtorian. The book reveals these lands used to be inhabited by elven colonists. It reads of two artifacts that have yet to be recovered from that age, a key called Glariel's Pebble and the Chalice of Eternity. It goes on about the love between Baxtorian and Glariel, which was said to last over a century. However, in the elven homeland to the west, a dark force arose and plunged it into chaos. Baxtorian led a campaign that lasted 5 years to try and fight it back, but failed. And when he returned to these lands, he found his people were slaughtered and his wife was taken. He was stricken with grief and entered a cave underneath the waterfall and never came out. The book ends with a poem written by Baxtorian, grief-stricken of the loss of his love.
What care I for this mortal coil, where treasures are yet so frail? For it is you that is my lifeblood, the wine to my holy grail. And if I see the judgment day, when the gods fill the air with dust, I'll happily choke on your memory as my kingdom turns to rust.
I travel to the Tree Gnome village and find a cave just off the entrance. I find a key and unlock the gate with a gnome inside who says he's protecting his grandparents' heirlooms from the nearby goblins trying to loot it. We find the lost Glariel's Pebble among the junk, and he lets us keep it. We take the pebble to Glariel's tomb, and it allows us access. We find Glariel's amulet and her ashes, and we take them back up the waterfall. We make our way into the dungeon. The necklace protects us from Baxtorian's wardings. We find another key and make our way into Baxtorian's chambers. Inside are two statues, one of Baxtorian himself and one of Glariel. Using the hints from the poem, we use one of each air, earth, and water rune on the 6 pillars. Then, we hang Glariel's amulet around her statue's neck. The room transforms and the ground rises to allow access to the Chalice of Eternity. We pour Glariel's ashes into the chalice, finally allowing Baxtorian and Glariel to rest together. Quest complete. I use one of the diamonds I get as a reward to pay the tax to the Xanaris market and get my dragon longsword. Quest number 38, Biohazard. We return to Elena and ask her about her progress in curing the plague. She tells us the mourners confiscated her distillator, and without it, she can't do any work. We speak with another family friend, Jericho, who tells us he has already got some of his friends to help set up a way for me to get over the wall, but I need to distract the mourners in the watchtower first. I get some bird feed and a pigeon cage. I scattered the bird feed around the watchtower and release the pigeons, distracting the mourners. I speak with Omar, and they let me over the wall. I devise a plan on how to get into the mourners' headquarters. I speak into the backyard and poison their food with a rotten apple. I then go to steal a nurse's gown, and I'm allowed inside to help the food poison mourners. Instead, I head upstairs and kill a guard to get into their storage area. I find Elena's distillator and return it to her. She runs an experiment and finds that nothing happens. She is perplexed and asks us to bring her ingredients to her mentor in Varrock. She says we'll need to get new touch paper from the chemist in Remington first, and we cannot teleport with the plague sample or it will be destroyed. We bank the plague sample and teleport to Falador, retrieve the sample, and go to the chemist in Remington. He tells us that he's heard rumors of an adventurer carrying the plague, and Varrock will not allow me to travel with all these chemicals, but his errand boys outside will be able to bring them individually for me. He gives me the touch paper and I go to the help. Da Vinci the painter is given the colorless Athenia. Chansey the gambler is given the valueless liquid honey. Hops the alcoholic is given the poisonous sulfuric bromine. They deliver it to Varrock and I travel there, buying a set of priest robes once I arrive. Carrying only the bottle with the plague sample inside and the touch paper, I'm allowed inside the gated community after a brief search. I retrieve all 3 vials and go inside Guido's home, Elena's mentor. His wife lets me in since I look like a healer, and we tell him the situation. He runs his own experiment and finds the same conclusion Elena come to. The plague sample has no reaction. It isn't toxic. He concludes the plague is a hoax. We return to Elena, and she tells us to report our findings to the king. King Lothus of East Ardoyan confesses he made the plague up to build a wall around the west, as his brother, King Tyrus of West Ardoyan, has been corrupted by the Dark Lord in the lands to the west. He explains that the Dark Lord tricked him into drinking from the Chalice of Eternity. We know that can't be true, though, as the chalice is located safely inside Baxtorian's Waterfall. However, we don't call the king out and tell him that he can count on us to help him get through the mountain when the time comes. Quest complete. Quest number 39, Jungle Potion. We travel to the newly released mainland of Karamja and talk to Trufidus Shakia, who calls me Bwana, meaning friend. He tells us that their village has been befelled by something, causing their citizens to be too scared to stay. He asks us to gather the ingredients to make a potion so that he can commune with the gods and ask for their help. We agree, and he sends us to get nearby herbs. We get one at a time and then return to him to get the next one. We gather a snakeweed, an artigal, a cytofoil, a Valencia moth, and a rogue's purse. He says he must prepare and asks us to leave him be for now. Quest complete.
Thanks for watching. I've been very sick the last few days, actually for 3 weeks now. So that's why my voice sounds like this, and that's why it's taking me so long to upload. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.